A simple linen top is one of the best products, one of the best pieces of garment one can have in their wardrobe. It is so versatile that it pairs very easily with denims, shorts, skirts, whatever you want. Literally, when I'm not in the mood for dressing up or I don't want to spend too much time thinking about what I want to wear, it's so easy to just grab a tank top, especially if it's linen, which is a good quality fabric, and just to wear it and pair it with my denims, and I'm good to go. And when it comes to easy sewing projects, I think this top, not just this top, but any top, simple sleeveless tank top, is, I think, super easy, and it is less intimidating because there are no sleeves attached. So it is very easy to make, and it is fun to make, and it is satisfying because at once you finish the project, there is this satisfaction, there is this feeling of accomplishment that you get. And for a beginner project, if there are sleeves involved, then it can be a little stressful, it can be a little tedious. But this tank top is actually very pretty easy. I have attached the measurements for the tank top in this video, and they are in 3 sizes. No, they're in 5 sizes, sorry. So extra small, small, medium, large, and extra large. And for the tutorial, I have taken you through a step by step. So it becomes clear that if you are a newbie, then you know what to do. The only skill, or maybe the only part of the project that might come across a little tedious is the binding. I have used bias binding to finish the neckline and my sleeves. So for example, let me get so here I am. I went and got the 2 tops that I made. So this is the first one. This is a simple, very simple cotton top that I made using the same pattern that I've shared here. This one had tucks and darts in the beginning right here, but you can ignore those are not needed. You will see that in the paper pattern that I'm using in the video, you will see like there are darts near armholes, but ignore those are not needed. And this is the top in the tutorial. So as you can see, I have used bias binding to finish the neckline, and the armhole is also finished using the bias binding. So if you are a newbie, you are a beginner, then this might come across as a little intimidating. I know it used to intimidate me for sure. It took me a couple of tries to get it right, but actually it's very easy. So actually it's quite easy, to be honest. It's not as difficult as it looks. There are a couple of videos on YouTube that you might have to go through. I haven't actually made a video on how to make the bias binding. I have briefly touched upon how to make the binding in this tutorial. However, I haven't taken any step by step. I haven't done a step by step tutorial for the binding. So I apologize for that, but just for that reason, you might have to look up some other videos. Otherwise, these 2 are the tops. This is the pattern that you will get, and this is like super cute, super friendly as in because it's so, I think it's really cute. Look at this cute print, and it pairs really well with linen pants, denims, skirts, whatever you want basically. So let's get going. All the measurements here are in centimeters, and I haven't included any seam allowance. So when you draw out your pattern, don't forget to add 1 centimeter of seam allowance around the pattern piece. First cut the front side of the top, and we will cut the front side on fold. So fold the fabric in half and iron it nice and flat, so we get a nice straight ironed perfect fold. I keep my patterns drawn out on paper and I keep them ready. So here, as you can see, I have drawn it out on paper first. I don't draw out my patterns directly on fabric. Once I have my patterns on paper cut and ready, align the fold, the center, the middle of the pattern with the fold of the fabric and draw around the pattern. When I'm drawing around my pattern, when I'm drawing the pattern on my fabric, here I don't leave any seam allowance. I manually leave seam allowance of 1 centimeter when I am cutting the fabric. For my back piece, I ideally wanted to cut the back piece on fold as well. However, I didn't have a big enough piece of fabric to cut on fold. So I had to cut 2 separate pieces for the back and then sew them together to make one piece. Next, we are going to join the right sides of the 2 fabrics, the front and the back of the 2 pieces, and we are going to align the shoulders and the side seams, and we are going to sew the shoulder seam and the side seam. The neckline and the armholes will be finished using bias tape. For that, I am going to cut bias strips, a couple of bias strips. Bias strips are basically cutting fabric at a 45-degree angle. We are going to need a couple of these. The width of each strip is roughly around 3 centimeters to 1 inch. On the right side of the top of the fabric, match the bias tape, the bias strip, match the rough edge of the bias strip to the rough edge of the neckline, and then sew along the neckline with 1 centimeter of seam allowance. This is what it looks like once I have stitched the strip along the entire length of the neckline. Next, we have to fold the strip inside and fold it along the stitch line and iron it in place, and then fold it one more time so that the other rough edge of the strip is folded in just like this, and we are going to top stitch on this folded bias strip. Here is what the neckline looks like, and I followed the exact same process to finish both of my armholes as well. And last but not the least, I finished the bottom hem of my top by simply folding the bottom fabric twice, and the width of my hem is roughly around 1 to 1.5 centimeters. So here is the top that I made. I wanted to show you what it looks like when paired with denim shorts, and here is the other peach top.